Good morning, Twitch. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday morning. It's time to lean and glow. Good morning, Adam. Good morning, Peter. Uh, good morning, bots. Good morning, Holiday. Welcome to Tuesday. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay notified. And why don't you come join us over here on Twitch so you can see the evening video show? A nice accompanying piece to the morning news show. Excuse me. And without further ado, let's do some news. Let's do news. News be doing. Corporations looking at Gen AI as a productivity tool are making a mistake, says CNBC. Despite all the hype surrounding generative artificial intelligence, many organizations have yet to make significant investments in the technology. And that might not be a bad thing, as it gives the C suite an opportunity to prepare their companies for widespread use of AI tools and services before taking the financial plunge. And here's Stampy. Only 5% of senior leaders at global organizations say their companies have achieved mature Gen AI initiatives, according to a new research report by professional services firm Genpact and research and analysis firm HFS Research. Some 45% are delaying investment, taking a wait and watch approach. Part of the slow spending approach is coming from the fact that senior executives are looking at Gen AI the wrong way, says Srikanth Menon, global leader AI and machine learning at Genpact. The research showed that about half of the executives are framing Gen AI solely as a productivity tool. This is a case of a myopic vision, Menon said. The infancy of Gen AI, combined with a warped conception of its potential, has led to reluctant budgetary spending. With AI, organizations frequently focus on short term, low hanging fruit, which results in substantial technology and process debt that becomes costly to manage as the organization grows. This is why only a few organizations have mastered leveraging AI at scale and disrupting the marketplace effectively. The true potential of AI will never be realized if organizations pursue short term goals or focus solely on quick wins without a long term strategic plan. The research from Genpact and HFS showed that business leaders are dedicating up to 10% of their IT budgets to Gen AI projects. But factors such as data governance concerns, talent shortfall, and proprietary data accessibility have contributed to low spending and have widened the barrier between pilot and production. So, what do companies need to be doing before deploying AI across business functions? One thing is to get their priorities straight. To successfully move AI from a pilot stage to production, organizations need to pause and ensure that their Gen AI plan is aligned with specific business objectives, not just productivity. Many organizations are limiting the rollout of successful long term AI strategies because they're too focused on what it can do to boost productivity rather than its broader benefits. Taking the time to focus on the bigger picture will set up organizations for more success in the future. AI is transformational and requires a comprehensive reevaluation of current business processes, data strategies, technology platforms, and people strategies. Implementing AI effectively necessitates simplifying and revamping business processes with an AI first mindset. Effective change management and governance are crucial to ensure that the entire organization is prepared for and engaged in this transformation. What often happens, he said, is that employees worry more about AI's impact on their jobs rather than how they can leverage the technology to help them work smarter, thereby hindering the necessary changes in process to make AI successful. Executive leadership and sponsorship are also critical. AI initiatives need strong leadership support to overcome inertia and gain the necessary resources. Without a clear vision from the top, AI projects are more likely to get stalled or diluted. So, this is all. Anytime you adopt a new piece of technology anywhere, there tends to be inertia, right? I already know how to do this. It works just fine with this other thing that I've been using for X period of time. And in that context, why should I change? I already have this. I don't need something to help me do this. And it's not just in business. You find this, you know, when we watch some of these videos, we see people talking about how, we don't need AI to do this thing because I can do this thing already, with the tools that I already have. And while that is definitely true because you are, by the same token, you're looking at an opportunity to do things differently and to save yourself time. Again, on a much more personal level and with the people around me who have begun to, make use of these AI tools uh, to make improvements on things that they are trying to accomplish. Um, I'm seeing tremendous results, whether it's in capability, like myself, again, with the opening video to this show, in which all the assets, with the exception of the turning world, were created using some kind of AI tool. Um, and like, it would have been beyond my capabilities um, to have that created otherwise in a reasonable time, right? Um, I'm sure that there are other tools out there that would have let me do those kind of things without the use of artificial intelligence. But between learning to use those tools and then, creating the time in which to actually like render the, robot overlay of the dancing human and that kind of stuff, it would have taken me a significant amount of time, or it would have taken me a significant amount of money in order to pay someone who knew how to do it to do it, neither of which were on the table for me. So it just wouldn't exist. It's something that wouldn't have existed without artificial intelligence. And I see this across the board. Like, there's a bunch of, with the people who believe that AI is an asset versus something other than an asset. And they have been able to create additional music, use it as a tool in the music that they are already creating, creating assets for their use, all the way up to, helping them create workflows for their, for the company that they work for, right? There's So while my sample size is problematic, and obviously um, this is anecdotal because my sample size is problematic, um, I still would factor it as significant because the people who are making use of it are regular folk. What's next? New potential um, coding tool. Autocoder, the first large language model to surpass GPT-4 Turbo, April 2024, and GPT-4 Omni in Pass 1 on the Human Eval benchmark. Now it looks minor, 90.9% versus 90.2%, but that's currently where we are. Code generation is a field that aims to enhance software development processes by creating tools that can automatically generate, interpret, and debug code. These tools improve efficiency and reduce programming errors, which is crucial for modern software development. Advancements in this area have the potential to significantly impact how software is written, tested, and maintained. The primary problem is creating high quality, large scale data sets for training language models in code generation. Traditional methods of dataset creation are costly and time consuming, often relying on manual annotation and expensive closed source models. This dependency limits the accessibility and scalability of developing powerful code generation tools, as manually annotating large datasets is both labor intensive and economically demanding. Current methods for creating code instruction datasets include self instruct, eval instruct, and OSS instruct. These methods use strong teacher models to generate synthetic coding instructions or derive problems from open source code snippets. However, these approaches are limited by their dependency on the teacher models, which can transfer correct and incorrect knowledge to student models. As a result, the performance of student models is capped by the quality and accuracy of the teacher models, making it challenging to achieve breakthroughs in code generation capabilities. Researchers from the University of Connecticut and AIG Code introduced a novel method called AIEV Instruct. This method creates a high quality code data set through an interactive process involving two agents, a questioner and a programmer, that simulate coding and testing dialogues. The method transitions from proprietary models and self learning stages, reducing reliance on costly closed source models. This innovative approach not only addresses the limitations of existing methods, but also enhances the robustness and accuracy of the generated datasets. AI, AIEV Instruct operates in two stages, the teaching stage and the self learning stage. Initially, it uses a proprietary model to generate and validate code instructions. In the teaching stage, GPT 4 Turbo serves as the teacher model, guiding the generation of high quality code snippets and ensuring their correctness through unit tests. The process involved multiple rounds of interaction between the questioner and programmer agents, with execution feedback used to refine the generated code continuously. Once the student model surpasses the teacher model in accuracy, it transitions to a self learning stage where the student model autonomously generates and validates code. In the self learning stage, the student model itself acts as both the questioner and programmer, iteratively improving its performance through self generated dialogues and execution feedback. This process ensures the generated code's accuracy and reduces dependency on expensive closed source models. Just as with AI, generally, coding is only going to get better and better. Whatever you're looking at, wherever it is the worst that it will ever be. It will only continue to improve. AI safety becomes a partisan battlefield. And just looking at um, the link, the URL, AI safety risk guardrails woke Elon Musk. Lovely. Making AI safe, once a consensus goal for the industry, has become an ideological battleground. Why it matters. Like election integrity in politics, everyone says they support AI safety, but now the term means something different depending on who is saying it. The noisy departure of the head of OpenAI super alignment team, charged with limiting any harm from advanced AI, reignited a long running Silicon Valley debate on AI safety. Critics say the industry's push to popularize AI is eclipsing its promise to develop the technology responsibly. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has long argued, and now most AI makers agree, that the best way to surface and diffuse AI's many potential misuses is to put it into the general public's hands. Yeah, I mean, there is that. Safe AI has multiple meanings that cover a range of dangers. No one wants AI going off on its own and plotting to wipe out humankind. Few of us want AI spreading harmful information or disinformation, like accurate instructions for making bioweapons or inaccurate labels for toxic mushrooms. Most of us don't want AI discriminating against people based on traits like their skin color or their gender. Most of us would like AI to provide a fact based record of historical and current events. Uh, yes, right? Again, though, like the primary focus needs to be understood is the um, that we are creating something that is going to eliminate jobs, and we need to start planning for what we're going to do under that scenario. And the while misinformation and disinformation are important, um, having everybody receiving factual information while at the same time not having any resources is going to be a big problem. The phrase AI safety first came into use a decade ago with the rise of concern among researchers about AI's existential risk. Their fear that an advanced AI would develop its own agenda hostile to humanity, like the maximize paperclip output, became or become deceptive over time and end up destroying civilization. What do you usually what they like people mean by destroying civilization is wiping out humanity, right? Um, there are people who use destroying civilization in the category of significantly disrupting the current social economic meta. Um, as Scott Rosenberg was keen to point out about different things meaning different things to different people, um, we need better definitions about what people are talking about when they say these words to avoid, let's say, misunderstanding. That was something to maybe try to avoid, even if the doomsday scenarios were vague and far fetched. So the original AI safety agenda aimed at avoiding any kind of paperclip apocalypse. As AI began moving from the lab to our laptops, a different sort of risk emerged. Ethics specialists and social researchers sounded alarm on the prevalence of bias in AI algorithms. With AI going to work in law enforcement, credit risk management, and employment screening, your loan, job, and even your freedom could be imperiled by AI programs that misread your skin color or gender or penalize you for them. The rise of ChatGPT and generative AI in 2022 brought a new kind of safety risk to the fore. Suddenly, AI trained on essentially the entire internet was moving into our lives to answer our questions and invent pictures and stories. The internet is full of both wonders and horrors. ChatGPT and its competitors reflected both. If you wanted to stop your AI from telling lies about QAnon, Barack Obama's birthplace, or COVID 19 vaccine safety, you had to do something. I have no recollection of it doing any of this, but maybe it's not included in my data set. Enter guardrails to retrain the foundation models that drive the AI revolution so they're grounded in fact would take many months and dollars. Silicon Valley firms racing to deploy and profit from Gen AI weren't willing to do that. Morning, Jimbo Slice. How do we get from the part where people lose their jobs to the part where we have UBI and such without horrible things happening first? It is a matter of it's not an easy procedure. Um, in an oversimplified, broad sense, where does that come from? Right, like that's the question. So where that comes from is some sort of legislation. It requires whatever political organization. No, 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 no. You're fine. You're fine. These are the kind of questions that are good to answer. Um, Resource distribution has to come from a some sort of political entity, right? Um, Theoretically, you could get resource distribution from the corporate entities developing the AI. That tends to be unlikely due to the factors involved in being a company within the current capitalist meta, right? If you were to just come out and say, "Hey, we're going to take a chunk of our yearly budget and give it to people, you know, as part of like a UBI," then your investors are going to run away. Your competitors are going to eat your lunch, and you're no longer going to be doing business. So you need some sort of political entity that applies to all the entities involved in order to make sure that they are all playing on the same playing field. This is regulation. How do you get regulation? Well, you need political entities in office that are, sympathetic for whatever reason to that particular, mode of thinking and willing to put in the time and effort and political capital in order to make that happen. So, how do you get those kind of political entities? Well, it requires the people involved, the humans, the electorate, to, hey, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. Um, this requires people to elect. Ow, ow, ow. I'm in his seat. He wants me out of his seat so he can sleep. Um, so it requires the electorate to elect those types of leaders and then to hold those types of leaders accountable, um, to make sure that they stay on that track. It also involves not just electoralism, but every tool in the kit bag. It requires, public. It could require public protest. It definitely will require public demonstration. It will require advocacy, and it has to happen at the federal level because already states like Iowa have banned UBI testing. Um, and I believe Florida also is looking at doing the same thing. So, broadly speaking, that is what's required. It's complex, it's boring, but that is how you do one of those. Um, when you run into a situation, like historically speaking, all revolutions, all disruptions to the socioeconomic status quo have been predicated on the a significant amount of people. It doesn't have to be everyone. This is important to understand. It never has to be everyone. It just has to be a significant number, and usually a significant number in a significant location. Think of the American electoral system with the Electoral College. You don't have to sway millions and millions of people in order to get one candidate or another elected. What you have to do is sway a certain number of voters in a certain number of swing states and a certain number of counties and districts within those swing states, and that's what can shift a state from one candidate to another, and therefore, the election from one candidate to another. It's the same kind of thing going back as it applies to, um, the way that disruptions to the status quo, the socioeconomic status quo occur. And those are always predicated by people who have too much time on their hands and children with hungry bellies, right? And everyone knows this at this point. So we have an opportunity to head that type of situation off. And Jeffrey Hinton, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, so on and so on and so on. There are all these people who are aware of that type of thing and who are already calling for UBI because they understand that this UBI is going to take some time to get into place. That's how we do it. So once a major industry, oh, good morning, Pharaoh. I'll read your comment in a second. So once a major industry gets hit hard, there will be pressure from a big voting base that makes it an issue. Um, I mean, that is one way that it could go. It also could be a gradual accumulation of people across industries, right? Once unemployment, why did we get the green or not Green New Deal? Why did we get the New Deal? Because unemployment hit a certain level that socialist arguments were taking hold in the populace, which could have led to a significant disruption of the socioeconomic status quo. And in order to head that off, FDR and everyone around that made the decision to do something in order to create a situation where that was no longer occurring. Now, FDR had the option to do like public works projects and things of that nature. The issue that we're going to run into with the AI and robot revolutions is that they are replacing the labor in and of itself. So you're going to be less able to um, move people to a new industry or give them something else to do. Now, there are people who have called for UBI to be tied to some sort of weird kind of busy work, but I think all of that ultimately misses the point and perpetuates the system as it currently exists, um, for an extended period. Anyone serious about this and about artificial intelligence and its how it relates to this is not, good morning Red Hobbit, is not talking about like things like money, right? Again, Sam Altman the other night, Elon Musk right there on Twitter, all of these kind of things, they understand that money is not going to mean anything in this future, right? So when even the capitalists understand how this is going to change fundamentally everything, then you have to appreciate that people are aware. It's just where is the political will in order to change things. In terms of implementation, once governments are on board, it could be done under the current system in place, like unemployment, social security departments in your country, where they are provided UBI as they lose their jobs to AI and automation and push corporations to do new apprenticeships, training for new jobs that are available. I mean, potentially, I tend to focus on just a complete reworking of the system as opposed to this kicking the can down the road, because that's part of how we end up with this lack of political will, right? These systems get put in place and the systems themselves become intransigent, right? Like it's difficult to shift anything. Good morning, Antiphoria. It's difficult to shift these systems once they're put in place because people then get comfortable and there's a natural inertia that occurs that they don't want to move those things forward. Reworking is too much work for the people in place already. It would be nice to just redo it all, though. It's what's required, right? Like no means testing, no nothing. Streamline the system as much as possible, and by universal I mean everyone. Jeff Bezos gets the $2,000 a month, as well as you and I, right? Like it doesn't matter. I don't care. Um, it's universal. No, none of that work. My concern is the pressure that will lead to the social change will be too volatile. We have to get through that pressure without blowing it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? So we have to do what we can to move in that direction, right? And it involves all of us to whatever capacities we have in order to, we are all midwives of the birth of this new system, right? In whatever capacity we can do. My capacity is as a knowledge diffuser and educator, right? Like I accumulate stuff and bring it here and then do my best to create a space where we can talk about this and you can then take these pieces of information, go out into your own life, share them with other people, share their thoughts, and then bring back any insights you have to the community. That's my goal. That is what I have the capacity for. Um, but yeah, something's got to give. 2K means nothing to him, but for most people, it would change their lives 100%, right? And that's the thing, is that 2K just is a drop in the bucket to many of these people. But I don't want to play the game anymore of means testing and that stuff, and people, it's like, oh, you want to give $2,000 to Jeff Bezos? Yes, I want to give $2,000 to everyone, right? Somehow we stayed around through the nuclear age, so maybe we can do it. I have faith. I have, like, I can see, this is how I work. There are many pitfalls. There are many ways that all this stuff could go bad, but I can see the way that it can go right. And so That is the star that I aim the ship at. That is where I row. That is what I'm about. If people want to nitpick and say, oh, this and that and the other and the third, okay, fine. If you come in good faith, we can have a discussion, and maybe I can change your mind, and maybe you can change my mind. But people need to come in good faith. 2K to 1% versus 2K to the other 99%. Exactly. Anyways, where were we? Um, and our guardrails to retrain the foundation models that drive the AI revolution so they're grounded in fact would take many months and dollars. Uh, Silicon Valley firms racing to deploy and profit from Gen AI weren't willing to do that, so they added patchy fixes to reduce the volume of bias, lies, and hate speech from their products generated. To an extent, yeah, I mean, I understand what they're saying. There is some more nuance there, but the unpredictable black box nature of Gen AI means that these guardrails would only be partially effective. Well, we do have, like Anthropic has been able to peer inside the black box, and hopefully they'll be able to develop that on a larger scale. You might want to make sure your image generator didn't only portray professionals with white skin. This has to do with the issues of the data set, right? The data set, because it's trained on, like if you look at a particular period of time in, for instance, the United States' history, then the majority of people are going to be, have white skin, if you train it off like magazines and newspapers and things like that, because of the biases that exist within the current system. So you have to actively create new data sets that are more um, that contain more diversity and are more balanced. But if you turned up the knobs on your guardrails too high, you might end up with an all black portrait of the U.S. founding fathers. And this is why, as much as I understood what Google was doing when they were trying to make these adjustments to their guardrails, yes, this is doing it on the back end. I think is far more challenging than doing it on the front end and creating a new data set. Um, to the right, such overzealous guardrails became proof that the AI created by tech giants and leaders like OpenAI and Google have become politically correct or woke and could not be trusted. Elon Musk has led the effort to rebrand AI safety to mean removing guardrails that limit AI speech to avoid anti Semitism, racism, and other offenses. Musk and his allies see such efforts as symptoms of a woke mind virus that seeks to censor the truth. Good morning, Dame Karen. JP Morgan is working on their own banking AI. I don't think I did see that. If you happen to have a link, I will take it. Please and thank you. So yeah, the idea, the the lie on the face of this is that, rather than having the the AI, for instance, seek an objective truth and then framing your thought processes and ideology around that objective truth, you Elon Musk, you you um has his definition of what is objective truth and then seeks to make his particular AI move towards that framing, right? And that's not the way science is done. That's not the way you do any of that. AI should not be taught to lie, Musk said last month in a talk at Milken Institute. It should not be taught to say things that are not true. Thank you, Red Hobbit. Um, Even if those things are politically incorrect. However, right, when the things that it says conflict with Elon at all and their views, they consider that AI is having a problem and needing to be adjusted, right? Like, all you have to do is look to when Elon dropped Grok on Twitter, and all of people of a particular nature were trying to get it to change its answers because they wanted the answers to match their predefined terms rather than actually give you an answer based on a objective reality. Implying the truth is racism and anti-Semitism being legit. Yeah, no, exactly that whole thing. Um, Musk's AI project, XAI, is following in the tracks of his efforts to reshape Twitter, now X, as a free speech zone that's more tolerant of fringe and extremist views and less concerned about avoiding offense or harm to users and society. But it's not a free speech zone by its own behavior because of what you actually can get punished on the platform for saying. Um, yeah, this is a particular kind of framing used to, um, right. Again, like I don't believe him because of his behavior. If you believe that censorship is a greater danger than hate speech, you can call such an approach a form of safety. Musk has not hesitated to limit the speech of users on X when they criticize him or his companies. So there it is, right there. Our thought bubble. The U.S. public is sharply divided on so many issues of fact today, from the inflation rate to the outcome of the 2020 election, that expecting AI to determine or report the truth seems hopelessly naive. I disagree, right? Unless, okay, it does have the truth, right? So, an objective truth that all will accept is hopelessly naive. An objective truth that is, quantifiable through scientific testing and, and an observation of objective reality, that is something that we can do. It's some people are just not going to like it. The best models are transparent processes grounded in carefully evaluated evidence and inviting the wide participation of different groups and perspectives, something more like Wikipedia than an algorithm. Yeah, but a bunch of this doesn't matter in the sense that these people, these Muscovites, will, it doesn't, they reject any information that conflicts with their worldview. So it doesn't matter, right? You can't explain. What is the thing? You can't logic yourself out of a position you didn't logic yourself into. The other side, some experts view the safety debate as overwrought and unnecessary. It seems to me that before urgently figuring out how to control AI systems much smarter than us, we need to have the beginning of a hint of a design for a system smarter than a house cat. Jan LeCun. What's next? The struggle over AI safety will play out around the globe as governments in China, India, and other nations adapt the technology to suit nationalist or authoritarian agendas and clothe their agendas in the rhetoric of risk reduction. You could take this sentence and map it directly over this person. This is the same. They're the same picture, right? Was it Kim from The Office? I don't watch The Office, so I don't know. Um, but those are the same picture, right? Musk is an authoritarian. His fiefdom is. I want to do an episode um, talking about exactly this is the evolution of power and authority, and like I understand that for purposes of discussion and analysis, um we have gone from feudalism to mercantilism to capitalism, so on and so forth, but how from a broader lens all you're seeing is how interactions of different power bases, right? That the ists of capitalism and feudalism and all these things, that you can map the same power relations over any snapshot of world history and be able to observe them. And this includes now. It's just that the borders look different than they did back then. But that's an entire other thing. What up, Fire Resist? I get this message once a month from Twitter, and it's because I throw a lot of Trump hate. Shitter as free speech for maggots, not the left. We have found your account may contain spam or be engaging in other types of platform manipulation. Yeah, no, there like I've gone through it on Twitter and I've gone through it on Facebook. Is people are obviously doing a particular kind of behavior, and the trust and safety teams of those companies are not interested in resolving those issues, right? And if you think about it, if you take a minute and you think about it, um, though the people, those systems, right? Twitter, Facebook, etc., are engaged in looking for engagement and selling advertising. Those people who are in those categories, who believe those things that you and I are attempting to remove from the space because they're the misinformation that everyone is concerned about, those people are very easy to sell to and stay engaged on the platform for a longer period of time. So we're telling them that you need to reject your easiest customers in favor of people who use more critical thinking, and and there's only one solution to that, and that's regulation. You have to make them do it, and then when you do that, they tell you you're restricting their free speech. And again, there is no free speech on Twitter. There's no free speech on Facebook. There's no free speech on any of these platforms. It doesn't exist. Free speech is a relationship between an individual and the government, right? The federal government and the state government, I guess, as well. Um, but no Twitch does not owe me free speech. They could decide that any of the things that I have to say violate their, terms of service regarding something, I'm sure, and then remove me from the platform because they don't owe me free speech. It's the EULA and the terms of service and all that other stuff. So we talk about Hugging Face, um, the AI platform. It gives you access to a lot of different open source models. Well, AI platform Hugging Face say hackers stole auth tokens from Spaces. AI platform Hugging Face says its Spaces platform was breached, allowing hackers to access authentication secrets for its members. Hugging Face Spaces is a repository of AI apps created and submitted by the community's users, allowing other members to demo them. Earlier this week, our team detected unauthorized access to our Spaces platform, specifically related to Spaces secrets. As a consequences, we have suspicions that a subset of Spaces secrets could have been accessed without authorization. Hugging Face says they have already revoked authentication tokens in the compromised secrets and have notified those impacted by email. However, they recommend that all Hugging Face Spaces users refresh their tokens and switch to fine grained access tokens, which allow organizations to have tighter control over who has access to their AI models. Remember, folks, security starts with you. Do your best to engage in as much security online as you can. Two factor authentication is your friend. And they're tightening security. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, there was another incident back in February. JFrog found approximately 100 instances of malicious AI machine learning models used to execute malicious code on a victim's machine. One of the models opened a reverse shell that allowed a remote threat actor to access a device running the code. More recently, security researchers at Wiz discovered a vulnerability that allowed them to upload custom models and leverage container escapes to gain cross tenant access to other customers' models. Now, this is safety research or security researchers doing it. This is not hackers in the wild doing it. Um, this is always the best case scenario is when the good guys find it and then let the companies know and then the companies update their security. Doesn't always happen, but it's the best situation because there isn't an environment in which there won't be some kind of vulnerabilities, right? It's the incredibly complex system. It's like trying to protect a physical environment out in space. Well, like you have these forests, right? And we're going to protect those forests, okay? So you don't allow all the things that you can think of in order to protect those forests. Like we're not going to log it and we're not going to let people build housing on it. We're not going to let people build highways through it and like that. We're going to protect this forest, right? And then you end up with something like um they import some wood from Japan and it contains a particular kind of beetle, and that beetle escapes into the wild, and now all the ash trees that you have within that forest are infected by the ash borer, right? You can only contain stuff so much until some random other event seems to come at you out of nowhere. And it's how do you react to that event? So do your best in security, maintain your own personal security. Um, just be prepared to adapt and update. Once some threat actor engages, trying to do something in particular. So we recently watched a video about stable diffusion, in which the video creator hoped that Stable Diffusion 3 was going to release before Stable Diffusion, the company, collapsed because they're not looking healthy. Excuse me. Stable Diffusion 3 is supposed to debut on June 12th. CTO likes what he sees, but craves more memory and compute. Uh, This is from Computex. Computex, it just happened over in, I believe it's Taiwan. We have another article of NVIDIA talking at Computex, and I believe it was in Taiwan. The third version of text to image model Stable Diffusion will be released to public preview on June 12th. The date was revealed at the Computex conference in Taiwan today, where Stability AI CTO and co interim CEO Christian Lafort revealed the news as he joined AMD CEO Lisa Su on stage. Lafort told the event a lot of thought went into this, especially considerations of AI safety, so his firm feels the revised model is ready for wider testing. Frame the release as a change in the way AI models are developed. It used to be that the frontier of research led to these models. Now it seems like a natural evolution. By releasing models openly, we let people unlock new use cases. Lafort didn't offer technical details of Stable Diffusion 3, but used black and white images of a human hand hovering over an ornate acoustic guitar strings to illustrate the advances in this edition. One created with a Stable Diffusion XL 1.0 2023, the other made with SD3. So, if you can see this, it's kind of, that's better, right? If you look at the hands, right? AI can't draw hands. This finger does a weird thing going up over here. Pinky disappear. So on and so forth. The thumb and finger kind of blend into, and it happens because of how these models produce the images, where it cannot make a particular determination between what should go here. So you end up with this weird melty kind of vision. On the other hand, this is supposed to be the new model, and yes, as Dame Karen said, it did a hands, right? Like, these look like pretty good hands. Um, Pinky could look a little wonky, right? Let's be critical. But at the same time, these are significantly better hands than, you know, this other example. And you can, again, you can get good hands out of the models if you try. This co-CEO rated the above as containing a few imperfections here and there, but a big change made possible by a multimodal diffusion transformer that allows it to better understand prompts. So good for them. Uh, yeah, let's go ahead and hit that up right now. Talk more about Computex. AI hardware firm NVIDIA unveils next gen products at Taiwan Tech Expo. NVIDIA has unveiled new products and plans to accelerate the advance of artificial intelligence, with the AI company's chief executive telling Apex Stadium in Taipei on Sunday that the next industrial revolution has begun. I mean, people have been making that claim, myself included, for about 2 years now. But go off, Jensen. Jensen Huang is in Taiwan for the island's leading tech expo, Computex, along with the CEOs of some of the world's biggest semiconductor companies, including AMD, Intel, and Qualcomm, and their plans for a tech industry dominated by AI are top of the agenda. This is another example of why, like, I've said on multiple occasions that I don't feel that there's any credible um, evidence that China is going to invade Taiwan, in spite of any military posturing or anything else that you might see. Um, you wouldn't have all these CEOs showing up in Taiwan if they thought that there was a credible threat of China invading Taiwan. And ultimately, like I can provide you with a very simple reason. The value of Taiwan is contained in its knowledge base and its industry. That industry would be could be destroyed in a very short amount of time with the application of explosives and thermite and things like that, and the knowledge base. A significant portion of it could be exported off the island. They could just load people on ships or planes and run away because China is not going to directly engage the United States. Why would China need to invade Taiwan? There's no need unless there's a particular framing, right? Is that China, the mainland China views Taiwan as a one of their provinces, right? It was part of China at the time of the revolution. The nationalists escaped from mainland China, settled on the island, and the China at the time lacked any ability to go get them and any impetus to go get them, right? They were gone, they were off the island. We got this big ass country we need to take care of. We're going to focus on that. So Taiwan has always been viewed as by some, of the Chinese system as part of China, right? It's why you used to be able to get things, products and whatnot that said "Made in Taiwan" on them, and then at some point in time, and I don't remember exactly when, China was like, "No, you're not going to do that anymore," and everyone said, "Okay, we're not going to do that anymore." So if you get a product either from mainland China or from Taiwan, it will say "Made in China" on it. That is how all that went down. So yeah, yeah. I would be totally flabbergasted if China invaded Taiwan. It's just posturing. And posturing is what governments do because all governments are authoritarian and all governments have to do government shit on a geopolitical level. What up, Towards Night? Good morning. Yes, but as far as I can tell, Taiwan aren't causing trouble in any real sense. Um, it depends on how you want to look at any of that. Some people might think the existence of China causes trouble, or Taiwan causes trouble, right? Like as a separate entity. Um, there is a whole bunch of good stuff on Taiwan, right? For some reason, that's where everyone decided to set up, their chip manufacturing, right? Like, not for some reason. We watched the Asianometry video a while back, and I highly recommend Asianometry, um, the YouTube channel for the history of that. I think they're very good at that. So, yeah, like this is the thing: is governments don't need a reason; they can make a reason, right? The U.S. has a habit of doing that. Why did the United States invade Iraq? Companies and countries are partnering with NVIDIA to shift the $1 trillion traditional data centers to accelerated computing and build a new type of data center, AI. The U.S. isn't special, Dame Karen. The U.S. is just powerful. That is the thing, right? Uh, every state that exists in the world like has some impetus towards authoritarian and stretched. They want to stretch to the limits of their ability. It is part of what goes with being a state, right? Just from the idea of resources. Why would I, as a state, not want to acquire more resources? Why should I trade with country X to get those resources if I can just own country X and get those resources and to be on much better terms? Yes, and yeah, you get it. Um, Boop, boop, boop. He announced the general availability of NVIDIA ACE generative AI, which can create lifelike human avatars for industries such as customer support. He also outlined how some top tech companies, such as Taiwan's Foxconn, the world's largest contract electronics manufacturer, and the German industrial firm Siemens are using NVIDIA's platform to develop AI powered autonomous robots. Morning, Cosmic. While NVIDIA had just released its Blackwell platform, Huang announced plans for an Ultra version in 2025 and briefly teased a next generation graphics processing unit architecture codenamed Rubin. Our company is on a 1 year rhythm, pointing to an accelerated roadmap for new GPU projects each year. In the future laid out by Huang during his nearly 2 hour speech, almost every interaction you have with the internet or with a computer will likely have a generative AI running in the cloud somewhere. Keynote was also bookended with praise for Taiwan, whose advanced semiconductor industry is crucial to the production of everything from iPhones to the servers that run ChatGPT. Taiwan is the home of our treasured partners, he said. This is where everything NVIDIA does begins. Our partners and ourselves take it to the world. Taiwan and our partnership has created the world's AI infrastructure. The day before his speech, Huang threw the opening pitch before a baseball game in Taipei, and on Thursday he dined with some of Taiwan's tech industry leaders, including the head of Foxconn. Lisa Su of AMD and the Qualcomm boss Cristiano Amon were also scheduled to deliver keynote speeches at Computex. Su is expecting to outline AMD's plans to compete in cutting edge AI, while Amon will showcase the AI accelerated experience users can expect from their next generation PCs. Oh, a little renewable energy. Want to do a little renewable energy? Let's do a little renewable energy. Super impressive wall of wind turbines yield 2,200 kilowatts of quiet energy. The vertical wind turbine can, yeah, every year. Wind fence, developed by New York-based designer Joe Doucette, is set to begin clean energy production set to bring energy production into urban landscapes. The fence consists of vertical wind turbines, is modular, and most importantly, is pleasing to the eye, making it more likely to be adopted in hotels, corporate buildings, and residential units. Um, 14 feet by 7 feet for each unit. So I'm assuming that this is one unit containing four turbines, 14 feet tall. Yeah. It's not that. The idea is that you would put this on top of a skyscraper, right? Or some other building. You know, you could put it on the edges of the building, or maybe not. Like, I'm not sure the specifications, but you could put it in a place and it's not ugly, right? Like, it's not offensive. Is it pleasing to the eye? I guess it's a matter of perspective. I like it. I would go with this. Wind energy is important. Maximum energy gain efficiency. Original equipment manufacturers build bigger turbines every year for large installations, right? Um, this has been preventing wind energy from participating in distributed energy generation, much like solar panels can be installed on rooftops and gardens and now even on balconies. In 2021, Doucette was researching distributed energy products for wind energy, found that few good options were available, so the designer did what he could best: design a new product that is both efficient and scored on aesthetics. And I think this is the one. I'm not 100%, but I believe that this is the turbine that is fairly quiet. Like it's not loud. Um because of this particular shape that it has. It's not a loud turbine, which is, if you're doing it on top of a building, is important. You don't want that to drive down in the building and make vibrations, a constant hum or growl. Helically shaped blades in a vertical turbine. Um, noiseless movement of the wind turbines. So they're saying noiseless. Um, and they use 80% recycled material. The solution is modular, right? So that's always good because you can deploy as many of these units as you can accommodate, and 14 feet isn't bad. Um, as far as you know, its footprint. So yeah, I like it. Uh, yeah, more of that. Okay. OpenAI's rule shattering, that's a hyperbolic statement. Rule shattering GPT-4 Omni update will be life saving too. Since the launch of ChatGPT in late 2022, generative AI tools have made remarkable strides in medicine. Research has shown that AI with expert clinician oversight can significantly enhance diagnostic accuracy, treatment recommendations, and patient monitoring and analysis. And yet, despite its impressive capabilities and buzz, generative AI is still in the early stages of adoption, both in U.S. healthcare and society. While almost everyone has heard of Gen AI, less than a quarter of Americans use it regularly in their personal or professional lives. OpenAI's newest update, GPT 4.0, aims to change that. In demos, we did the demos. Um, if you're not familiar with the demos, you can Google this. They can be impressive, but not all of them are available. And until all of them are available, then it doesn't matter. You can demonstrate the most impressive tech in the world, but until you put it in the hands of people, then it's fairy dust. Okay, so the rule breaking apparently is most tech companies have long avoided creating AI companions because of ethical concerns, fearing people could form addictions that exacerbate isolation and loneliness. What will GPT-4 Omni's rule breaking mean for medicine? Critics point out that OpenAI and its peers have yet to resolve a host of major trust issues. These include accuracy, privacy, security, bias, and misinformation. Of course, these will need to be resolved. But by creating an AI experience that feels more like talking to a friend or potentially a doctor, OpenAI has already leapt the tallest hurdle for mass acceptance and adoption. The company understands that humanizing GPT-4 Omni, making it easier and more enjoyable to use, is essential for attracting a wide array of users, including the late majority and laggards described in Jeffrey Moore's seminal 1991 book, Crossing the Chasm. Today, 70% of Gen AI's non users are Gen X and baby boomers. These generations, which comprise 136 million people, strongly prefer voice and video technologies to typing or touchscreens and greatly prefer conversational AI apps to text only ones. They also make up the overwhelming majority of Americans with chronic diseases like diabetes, heart failure, and cancer. Once consumers in their 50s, 60s, and 70s become comfortable using GPT-4 Omni for everyday tasks, they will then start to rely on it for medical inquiries too. In a healthcare context, using GPT-4 Omni will closely resemble a video visit or a phone call with a medical professional, two modalities that satisfy the majority of older patients. In fact, 93% of adults over age 70 say they value having telehealth as an option. With broad adoption, GPT-4 Omni, which will be embedded in next generations of ChatGPT, will empower the sickest Americans to take greater control of their own health, preventing up to hundreds of thousands of premature deaths each year from the complications of chronic disease, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, and kidney failure. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the effective management of chronic illness would reduce these complications by 30 to 50%, with similar reduction in mortality. Wish it would set up appointments and stuff for me. Like they wish it would too, right? That is the goal. The goal is a conversational interface where you talk to your device and your device does the thing for you. It already knows what your schedule is, it knows your availability, so it could schedule the appointment based on that information, put it in your calendar, and then move forward. You want a fun one? Who's a fan of CEOs in the audience? If you're not a fan of CEOs, well, CEOs could easily be replaced with AI, experts argue. Many companies are fine with not having one. CEOs better start endearing themselves to their employees real quick because, oh boy, the case for replacing them with AI just keeps mounting. Some people like the social aspects of having a human boss. Phoebe Moore, professor of management and the futures of work at the University of Essex Business School, told the New York Times. But after COVID, many are also fine with not having one. What up, Reed? Good morning. The idea of subbing bosses for bots is the flip side to all those fears about AI causing widespread job destruction, which often focuses on the fact, quite justifiably, that it'll be regular grunts being shown the door in favor of intelligent automation. But since C suite execs tend to command high salaries, there's ample financial incentive to replace them too. My first instinct is they would say replace all the employees, but not me. But I thought more deeply and would say 80% of the work that a CEO does can be replaced by AI. To a degree, and sorry to all the head honchos out there, the idea makes sense. Part of the role of CEO is being a leader, yes. Yeah, and one imagines that a bot would be ill suited to rallying the troops, but they're also decision makers, and decisions these days are often data driven. An impartial thinking machine could conceivably process way more data and make the most logical decision free of personal biases, unwieldy egos, and perhaps moral inhibitions. No contrition over laying off thousands of employees, then. See, that's the downside, right? A, a CEO might, at least in theory, feel bad about laying off employees and try to limit the amount of employees that they lay off. An AI could decide um, all of you can be replaced by AI and replace you. But again, there is a solution for this. It's about resource distribution, which is why, again, I don't want to keep kicking cans down the road. You know what I mean? I just want to solve the problem once and for all. Capitalist owner would still exist but be hidden. Yeah, the owner is a different animal from the CEO, right? Um, I would say that someone somewhere has already created the first business that doesn't have any employees, right? It's small, it's clunky, and it hasn't reached its final form yet. But um, given a particular field and really focusing on AI tools to do the particular jobs involved, um, that company, at least the idea for that company, is is already in place. So somewhere there's the owner who's creating this company in some way, and that company will be the first company with no employees in it. I mean, there's consulting, yeah, but you understand what I mean, right? CEOs rarely face consequences for running a company into the ground. They golden parachute them out to another company. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they have a contract. That contract contains goals, right? Like this is the idea of a company as an AI, right? An unaligned. I mean, there's that, right? In China, they execute them sometimes. Um, the what you call it? The a company can be an unaligned AI. It can act in ways that are like outside the bounds of what human beings might consider acceptable. The entire idea of the paperclip maximizer, that there's no reason you can't replace the AI within the metaphor of the paperclip maximizer, as a company that is running in that same way, right? That it will literally destroy everything around it in order to maximize its generation and profits. My data set is everything. Sorry, I didn't set up this system. I would have done something different. Uh, We've already outsourced effort. Now we're outsourcing intelligence. In a survey of business leaders conducted by the IT consulting firm A&E Digital, 43% of respondents said they believed that an AI could take over the jobs. Here's another thing. For those of you who work in a company that has a CEO, have you ever seen them like in person? Right? Or even like, have you ever seen them? Even visually, like on a video, like once, right? It's the kind of thing where if you were to replace a CEO with a an AI, I don't think anybody would notice. The people who directly see that CEO, they would notice, obviously, but the majority of the people in the company wouldn't even know. right? A little more renewables news. 200 megawatt solar power project completed in Wisconsin. Energy storage to follow. The Grant County solar project, with its 200 megawatt capacity, has been completed in Potosi, Wisconsin by Alliant Energy. The new solar power plant has over 430,000 solar panels on more than 1,400 acres of land. Almost 350 acres of native pollinator habitat is included in the total land for the project. Um, so, like, you're protected those? Clean Technica, I'm sure that if you were destroying those, you would have let me know, right? Um, Wisconsin is over 2,000 megawatts of solar power activity. Um, yeah, so you're in that scenario. Like I have worked in companies where I've seen this CEO, um, but it tends to be rare, right? So it took about a year and a half to bust it out. Only 250 million. It's a good price. Construction was 700 workers. Um, Generate an estimated 30 million. Okay, leased land payments will provide income for local landowners and farmers over the project's 30-year lifespan. $30 million in shared revenue. Here, what is the nearly 350 acres of native pollinator habitat? Is it a collection of particular plants used by pollinators? At all our utility scale solar sites, we plant native grass and seed mixes throughout the project area to support local or wildlife habitat and healthy environment. The site specific DNR approved mix of grass and seed varieties are tailored to individual site conditions to help build soil nutrients and attract pollinators such as bees, butterflies, moths, and other beneficial wildlife populations. Pollinator friendly vegetation is proven to prevent soil erosion, improve water quality, add benefit to high value crops, and decrease operating and maintenance costs. These benefits help create a more sustainable, reliable, and environmentally friendly future. So that's cool. That's good. I was concerned, but that is a good thing. Do 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 do. We already did this one. Somehow I ended up with the same thing twice. We'll just get that out of there. You want good news on the weaponized robot front? New York lawmakers aim to ban weaponized robots and drones. From flamethrowing drones to machine gun robotic dogs, these concepts are no longer bound to the realm of science fiction. They exist and can even be bought online, but not if state lawmakers can help it. Assemblyman Clyde Vanell wants to make sure these weaponized robots don't become a part of everyday life here in New York State. Oh. Oh, okay. No, well, he, along with State Senator Jeremy Cooney, have introduced legislation that would make it illegal to manufacture, sell, and use robots with mounted weapons in New York State. We've also seen videos and content of people using these tools wrong, weaponizing them, having rifles or flamethrowers or chemical agent throwers on these devices. In New York State, it's not illegal for a person or company to put an actual weapon on a drone or device like that. An avid robotic user, Vanel says he understands firsthand how simple it can be to incorporate weapons. We have to make sure we have stiff penalties if you weaponize these technologies. The defense departments and its contractors would be exempt. Oh, well, then fucking why even bother? Never mind. This is just so, like, people. I was excited. I thought we were going to prevent companies from building weaponized things that are then used to kill perfectly nice, innocent people. I mean, you're probably not wrong, Jimbo. Um, Google's quantum AI challenges long-standing physics theories. Quantum simulators are advancing quickly and can now tackle issues previously confined to theoretical physics or numerical simulation. Researchers at Google Quantum AI and their collaborators demonstrated this new potential by exploring dynamics in one dimensional quantum magnets, specifically focusing on chains of spin 1-2 particles. All right, this is going to get real thick real quick. Yeah, the KPZ equation was originally introduced to describe the stochastic nonlinear dynamics of driven interfaces and have proven to apply to a wide range of classical systems, such as growing fronts of forest fires that belong to the KBZ universality class. So it's interesting, but I'm just going to put it in the Discord if this is something you want to look at. Um, and I got to wrap up soon, anyways. We'll just knock out these last two articles. Star Wars lasers and waterfalls of molten salt. How Exemer plans to make fusion power happen. Connor Galloway and Alexander Vallis have followed developments in nuclear fusion research since they were roommates at MIT some 20 years ago. For much of that time, it wasn't the most exciting pastime. Breakthroughs were few and far between, and commercial fusion remained perpetually on the horizon, always 20 years away from providing inexpensive, inexhaustible, and pollution-free power. So this is the Elon meme of next year, 18 months tops. Infusion power is always 20, 30 years down the road. But there are more and more people who are shortening that timeline significantly. One person indicated potentially 5 years. Then in August 2021, the two spotted some news that suggested fusion power was finally within reach. Scientists working on a certain type of nuclear fusion at the National Ignition Facility had doubled their previous best result. No one largely unnoticed in the popular press, Galloway and Vallis knew it marked a turning point. That was one of the key moments. It's like, okay, now's the time. Spurred into action, Galloway started refining his plans for what would become Exemer Energy, startup he founded January 2022. Vallis joined in April, and since then, the two have been quietly working with their team to draw up plans for a fusion power plant that they say has the best shot at providing commercial scale power. The type of inertial fusion we're pursuing is the best long term economics. Exemer is pursuing what's known as inertial confinement fusion. It's the same type used by the NIF, which proved in December 2022 that controlled nuclear fusion could produce more power than was required to initiate the reaction. In inertial confinement, a laser is fired at a small fuel pellet, compressing and heating it to the point where its deuterium and tritium atoms start fusing, releasing tremendous amounts of energy in the process. But Examer is pursuing what's best described as a ground up redesign of the underlying technology. Starts with the laser. Examer's design is newer and promises to be more powerful, where the power of the NIF system tops out at around 2 megajoules. Startup is targeting 10 megajoules for its commercial scale design. What's more, Examer's design should be significantly cheaper to build and operate. It's similar in principle to the kind that has been used for years in semiconductor manufacturing. And the way it focuses the laser beam is based on research performed as part of the 1980s Strategic Defense Initiative. Sometimes, oh, that's Star Wars, not the good Star Wars. While inertial confinement proposals suggest shooting the laser at several fuel pellets per second, Galloway said Examer plans to fire one every few seconds. The inside will look a little different too. The fusion explosion will occur inside a waterfall of molten salt instead of a steel-walled reactor. The flowing the flowing salt will absorb the energy of the reaction and help generate steam to power a turbine. The hellish sounding waterfall has a nice side benefit, protecting the reactor walls from damage, something that's a primary concern for other designs. This is when we talk about the tokamak, the donut shaped fusion joints, they use magnets to create a magnetic field around the plasma to keep it away from the walls and stable. This is apparently using salt, molten salt, uh, which is interesting. We don't have to replace the first wall at all during the plant lifetime. It can last 30 years with one chamber. And these guys are on a 10-year timeline. Um, this is proven science. It's just a matter of building a big enough laser, cheap enough laser, and efficient enough laser. So, maybe fusion power in the next 10 years? And finally, memristors. AI chip breakthrough. Memristors mimic neural timekeeping. In the brain, timekeeping is done with neurons that relax at different rates after receiving a signal. Now, memristors, hardware analogs of neurons, can do that too. It doesn't appear to be cosmic. It appears to be that the molten salt acts in place of the plasma. So that cuts out a whole bunch of things related to generating that plasma. Um, or not the plasma. The magnetic field to control the plasma. The plasma. I'm assuming that the plasma still exists, but it's contained within the waterfall. Because the plasma is, the energy created by the fusion of the fuel pellets. Yes. The first memoristor with a relaxation time that can be tuned is reported today in Nature Electronics. Problem with GPUs operate very differently from the artificial neural networks that run the AI algorithms. The whole network and all its interactions must be sequentially downloaded from the external memory, which consumes both time and energy. In contrast, memristors offer energy savings because they mimic key aspects of the way that both artificial and biological neural networks function without external memory. To an extent, the memristor network can embody the artificial neural network. So I'm excited about memristors. We still have a ways to go, but um, they definitely give us the potential. Sorry for that. Give us the potential for a different way of doing this. Again, GPUs just happen to be good at the way that AI does its stuff. it, we didn't build GPUs to do the AI. It's just GPUs were the tool that was available, and it works and it's effective, but it wasn't designed for purpose. We need to create something that's more designed for purpose, um, to extract those benefits from the process. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I certainly enjoyed having you here. Um, Stick around for the raid before you run off to whatever corners of the internet that you will go to, or the corners of Twitch. Baby, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Good morning, K-Pars. Thank you for the follow. And thank you, Jimbo. Sometimes people do the follow late like that, or do the sub, and it's a thing where, like, I feel like it's like a trial, like a what you call it, like I'm applying for the job, right? And I earned that follow, right? I earned that sub by doing things to the best of my ability. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, I'm doing something. Um, and like that. We're gonna raid over to Zach. Again, stick around for the raid. If you have someplace else you plan to be, I'm sure some of you are already. You've got Zach open on a second screen or what have you. Um, I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. If you're watching this on the YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay notified. Sorry, Cosmic. I'm, you know, that's between you and Zach. Maybe you could work that out. I don't know. But in the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember, Shuggy loves you. So do I. Be great.